4 days. That's how long Scotland had been testing us. Rain soaking every plan. Castles closing their gates before we arrived. GPS sending us down roads that barely existed. And the drone? The drone was practically an outlaw. Every single day brought a new reality check, the kind you don't see on Instagram. But day 5 was different. I don't know if Scotland felt guilty or if we'd just finally earned it. But for the first time on this road trip, everything, literally everything, went right. I'm Alp Galip, and this is the day Scotland finally let us win. We woke up in Drumnadrochit, a tiny village tucked against the western shore of Loch Ness, the kind of place where the morning mist hangs low over the water and everything feels paused. After a simple breakfast at our guest house, we loaded the car and set off. The sky was doing something I hadn't seen in 4 days. It was blue. Genuine, uninterrupted, Scottish Highlands on a good day blue. I remember sitting in the driver's seat, looking out at the loch and thinking, don't say it. Don't even think it. If you say it out loud, the rain will hear you. But deep down, something already felt different about this day. 4 minutes. That's how close Urquhart Castle is from Drumnadrochit, one of the most iconic landmarks on the entire loch, and it was practically on our doorstep. We pulled into the parking lot early and immediately spotted a sign, only ticket holders can park. We parked anyway, first small rebellion of the day. Walking over to a roadside viewpoint, I finally got my first proper look at Urquhart Castle. This medieval fortress dates back to the 13th century, and what makes it special isn't just the ruins, it's how they sit right on the water's edge, the loch stretching endlessly behind them. Now here's where it gets interesting. Another sign, no drones, but the public area by the road, not covered, so I launched the drone towards the lake. Don't miss this, Loch Ness isn't just about monster stories, it's surrounded by lush green hills and a deep, almost unsettling tranquility. Cruise boats glide across the surface, lakeside accommodation dots the shoreline. People come here for the mystery, sure, but they stay for the peace. And from above, with Urquhart Castle in the foreground and that famous dark water stretching to the horizon, the view is something that will truly blow your mind. From Urquhart Castle, we drove for about half an hour along the lochside, and Fort Augustus hit us the moment we arrived. It's a tourist village, no question about it, but in the absolute best possible way. We paid €4 to park at the village entrance and stepped into what honestly felt like a living postcard. The heart of Fort Augustus is the Caledonian Canal, and the step lock system here is genuinely mesmerizing. Boats slowly rising and descending, while canal-side restaurants and cafes watch from both sides. You could easily lose an entire afternoon just sitting there, but we kept walking through souvenir shops, past a small park, and then out towards the fields where animals were grazing. And this is where my day peaked emotionally. Lambs having breakfast, while their mothers watched over them with that calm ancient vigilance that ewes have. Green fields in every direction, the kind of scene you'd set as your computer wallpaper and then never change. We passed St. Peter and St. Benedict's Church, which honestly looked more like a historic village house than a church, and walked along the River Oich, watching water flow through the village into the loch. This short stop in Fort Augustus was one of the most genuinely peaceful moments of the entire Scotland road trip, but the Highlands capital was waiting. Now let's talk about the drive. Fort Augustus to Inverness 1 hour, hugging Loch Ness for miles, winding through tiny villages and settlements so picturesque that you genuinely want to pull over every 5 minutes. We kept saying, should we stop? And then immediately seeing something even more beautiful around the next bend. At one point the loch opened up so wide it looked like the sea, and there wasn't a single other car on the road. This stretch of road is one of those hidden gems that nobody puts on the Scottish Highlands itinerary, but it should be. Eventually, the loch gave way to the city, and the capital of the Highlands rose in front of us. Inverness, the capital of the Scottish Highlands, and we parked right in the middle of it on Castle Street for €3.5. From there, you do what everyone does. You climb the stairs towards Inverness Castle. Dating back to the 11th century, this is the castle from Shakespeare's Macbeth. the place where King Duncan was fictionalized to be killed. The walls surrounding it offer panoramic views of the River Ness, Inverness Cathedral, and the Ness Bridge. You can see half the city from up here. Standing up there, looking down at the River Ness cutting through the city, I understood why they built a castle on this exact spot 1,000 years ago. You can see everything coming. The castle garden holds the Flora MacDonald statue, and inside there's a restaurant, old courtrooms, and exhibition halls. Walking down from the castle, the first landmark you meet is the steeple, a 45 meters Georgian-style clock tower that now functions as a museum. Then, you hit the intersection of Castle Street and Bridge Street, and this is the city's pulse. Hotels, restaurants, clothing stores, the constant rumble of buses and taxis. The townhouse stands right there with its elegant architecture, woven into the city's historical fabric. A little further, High Street opens up, a pedestrianized cobblestone street, dense with shoppers, street musicians, and that electric energy that makes a city feel alive. Then Academy Street, just a short walk away, with Eastgate Shopping Center and Marks & Spencer Food Hall anchoring daily life. Further down, elegant buildings, house restaurants, hotels, and Inverness Central Station. Compared to Edinburgh or Glasgow, Inverness has a calmer, almost understated atmosphere. If you're exploring the Highlands, spending a few hours here is absolutely worth it. By this point, half the day was gone, and we were starving. The Victorian market, a 150 years old historic indoor market, was exactly what we needed. Its food hall offers different cuisines from around the world, and 2 pizzas for 30 euros later, we were back in action. After eating, we discovered Leakey's Bookshop, Scotland's second largest used bookstore, holding around 100,000 volumes in one space. I could have stayed in Leakey's for hours, the smell of old paper, the creaking wooden floors, books stacked from floor to ceiling. Right behind it, Old High Church, a historic building with river views and a garden cemetery where Jacobite prisoners were once held and executed. Cross the River Ness and you'll find Balnain House, a rare, perfectly preserved 18th century Georgian townhouse from 1726. Right next to it, the Chisholm & Sons, a 150 years old funeral home still operating today. A short walk further, the Free Church of Scotland. This city wears its history on every corner. We walked past the Inverness Museum and Art Gallery, back towards our parked car, and started driving through Inverness's green, nature-filled streets. Next destination, the heart of the Cairngorms. 1 hour from Inverness, deep in Cairngorms National Park, we stopped at a town called Kingussie. I'd read it was known for its historical ruins and traditional Scottish culture. So I expected something. A few people on the streets, a cafe or 2 buzzing with life, a pulse. We pulled up to a cafe we found on maps, parked in a side alley, and stepped out. Nothing. Nobody. The streets were completely empty. Shops closed. The only sound was wind moving between the buildings. We walked past a church with a wolf statue in front, past a small clock tower, past beautiful, well-maintained houses with gardens, every single one of them silent. The main street had elegant, mansion-style structures and rich visual character, but zero human presence. At one point, I turned to the camera and meant it. Had a state of emergency been declared? Was there a zombie attack we somehow missed? It was the strangest hour of the entire trip. We found a coffee shop, one of the only places open, and paid 9 euros for 2 coffees, sitting in this surreal, beautiful, completely abandoned town in the middle of the Highlands. I still don't know if Kingussie is always like this or if we caught it on the quietest day of the year. But I will never forget sitting in that empty cafe, drinking a 4.5 euro coffee, wondering where an entire town went. Another hour of driving, roads wrapped in lush green trees, and then Pitlochry. I'd seen this town countless times on social media before coming to Scotland. I planned the itinerary specifically to include it, and it didn't just meet expectations, it exceeded them. We checked into the Pitlochry Hydro Hotel, 157 euros per night with breakfast included. Victorian architecture, comfortable rooms, After a long day on the road, it was the perfect choice. Before dinner, we parked in the village center for €2 and walked into the heart of Pitlochry. Victorian buildings everywhere, flower-covered shop fronts, streets that felt like walking through a film set from another century. This is the Scotland Instagram shows you, but being there in person, after everything we'd been through over 4 chaotic days, it hit completely differently. It felt earned. We ended the day with a Sunday roast for €242, and I remember sitting there thinking, this is what a perfect travel day looks like, not because nothing went wrong, but because after 4 days of chaos, Scotland finally showed us what it could do when the sun came out. Let me break down exactly what this day cost us. Parking, Fort Augustus €4, Inverness €3.5, Pitlochry €2. Food, 2 pizzas in Inverness for €30, 2 coffees in Kingussie for €9, Sunday roast for 2 at €42. Accommodation Pitlochry Hydro Hotel, €157 including breakfast. The total, roughly €247.5 for 2 people. For context, that's less than a single night in a standard Edinburgh hotel during August. And this covers food, transport, activities, and a night in a beautiful Victorian hotel. If you're on a tighter budget, skip the hotel breakfast, choose a guest house instead in Pitlochry, and you could bring this day down closer to €150 without losing a single experience. A Scotland road trip doesn't have to destroy your wallet, even on the perfect days. Another common mistake I made, the Urquhart Castle parking. I saw the sign ticket holders only, and I parked there anyway. It worked out, but it was an unnecessary risk. The drone situation? No drones means no drones. I flew from a public area and technically that was fine, but I should have checked the regulations more carefully beforehand. The biggest regret, though I wish we'd given the Cairngorms more time. Kingussie was a spontaneous stop, and while the ghost town experience was surreal, we barely scratched the surface of Cairngorms National Park. If I were planning this day again, I'd leave Inverness an hour earlier and give Kingussie and the surrounding park at least 2 to 3 hours. But here's the honest truth, none of these were deal breakers. For the first time on this trip, the mistakes didn't define the day, the destinations did. So, is a day driving from Loch Ness through the Highlands to Pitlochry worth it? From Urquhart Castle's ruins against that dark water, to the lambs of Fort Augustus, to the ghostly silence of Kingussie, to the Victorian perfection of Pitlochry, absolutely. But here's what I tell you, don't expect every day to be like this one. Scotland will test you. It will rain on your plans and close its castle gates. But when it decides to give you a perfect day, when the sun finally breaks through, and every stop delivers something unforgettable, Scotland reminds you exactly why you came. This is episode 5 of my Scotland travel series. If you missed the chaos of days 1 through 4, the full playlist is linked in the description. You'll also find all the hotel bookings, transportation links, and travel deals I personally use. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be waiting for your likes and specific questions in the comments. Feel free to drop them, I'd love to help. This is Alp Galip Travels and I'll see you in the next one.